Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. Kristie has a 13-year-old with type 1 diabetes who was diagnosed at 10. We're going to talk a little bit about the difference between the Australian and United States medical systems, the value of community and finding others to deal with the same things that you are, and much more. Nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan. Don't forget to save 40% off of your entire order at CozyEarth.com. All you have to do is use the offer code JUICEBOX at checkout. That's JUICEBOX at checkout to save 40% at CozyEarth.com. If you are the caregiver of someone with type 1 diabetes or have type 1 yourself, please go to t1dexchange.org/juicebox and complete the survey. This should take you about 10 minutes and will really help type 1 diabetes research. You can help right from your house at t1dexchange.org/juicebox. When you place your first order for AG1 with my link, you'll get 5 free travel packs and a free year's supply of vitamin D. Drink AG1.com/juicebox. This show is sponsored today by the glucagon that my daughter carries, Gvoke HypoPen. Find out more at gvokeglucagon.com/juicebox. Did you know that despite the increase in CGM use, only a third of people living with diabetes meet the recommended guidelines for healthy glycemic levels? Today's episode is sponsored by Medtronic Diabetes. Learn more about hyperglycemia at medtronicdiabetes.com/hyper.
My name is Kristie. I am from Australia. I have a 13-year-old type 1 diabetic daughter. I have a 21-year-old son, and I have 4 stepkids and 6 grandchildren.
Now, I want everybody to know that hopefully Kristie's connection thing is because she's from Australia and she's so far away. So, Kristie, every once in a while when you stop talking, it gets electric, which is, I don't believe anything you can do about it. So We're going to try to make it through. I also want to tell you that while I've only probably recorded with a handful of Australian women, you all sound exactly the same to me, and I'm sorry for that.
That's okay.
Like, generally speaking, I can't tell the difference between you and anyone else I've ever spoken to. And as a matter of fact, when you came on originally, I thought, have I already recorded with her?
It's that slang, that Aussie slang.
It gotta be.
Casual chit chat.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know. And tonally, you sound like, I'm like, oh, this is the same person. But obviously you're not the same person. I am going to say this. I think I'm detecting that your microphone is picking up S's strangely.
Okay.
Can we test that to see if I'm right? Can you say something like,
Sally Snakes or something like that?
Yes, that's what it is. Holy crap. How is it doing that? Can you move the mic farther from your mouth?
I can give it a go.
Do the Sally sells seashells down at the seashore again.
Oh, shit. Sally sells seashells down the seashore.
Yeah, you're not allowed to use any words that begin or end with S, okay?
Right. Well, that cuts out the Aussie slang. Yeah.
Right. People are going to need to understand, if they want to hear from somebody from Australia, be clear to them. Your internet runs through 2 threads that go under the ocean, right? Like, it's very, yeah. You're lucky to be talking to the outside world, honestly.
At 11 p.m. at night.
Plus, you have to be up very late. I'm bitching to my wife last night. I'm going to bed. I'm like, why am I recording so early tomorrow? I said, my scheduler is out of their mind. And my wife goes, do you not make the schedule? And I was like, yeah, there must be a reason for this. But tell me one more time. It sounds like you made 2 babies and rented 4. So go over them again for me.
We've got a yours, mine, and ours situation. So I had my son, and I met my husband. He had 2 biological children, and he had 2 stepchildren. And then together we had our Emily.
So you had 1 coming in. He had 4 coming in.
Yeah. So
and then
we had
you made
yours,
1
mine,
more.
ours, and hers, because there was 2 that were actually my husband's stepchildren. Yeah, huge.
I'm going to ask you a question that has nothing to do with anything.
Sure.
How does a man leave a relationship with the children that are stepchildren?
So he raised the boys. So he met his first partner when the kids were 2 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
And they were together for 13 years and then had 2 girls together. And then when they separated, he just always continued to look after them.
Wow.
And care for them.
So he seems like he might be an exceptional person. Is that correct?
He is. He is very exceptional, yes. And then he took on me and my son.
He's like, come on, I can do more.
Yeah. But he had no biological boys, but he had 3 biological girls.
Wow, that's something.
So he just collected the boys.
Yeah. Well, listen, you got to do what you got to do. So you and he have a baby together. That baby has type 1?
That's correct.
Okay. And she's 13, did you say?
Yes, just turned 13.
I can't believe I remembered that. I'm so impressed with myself right now. So you and he have a 13-year-old together who has type 1. Does anybody else have autoimmune? Any of those other kids?
No, there's nothing in the family. No type 1 diabetes, no autoimmune, no celiac, no nothing.
How about on your side of the family?
Nope, nothing.
Interesting. How old was she when she was diagnosed?
She was 10 years old.
It's been 3 years.
She didn't go into DKA. I took her to the doctors because I thought she had a bladder infection.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Whatever gets you to the doctor, right? What does it matter?
That's right.
Did they figure it out, though, once you came in talking about bladder infection? This episode is sponsored by Medtronic Diabetes, a company that's addressing hyperglycemia head on. Learn more at medtronicdiabetes.com/hyper. And now we're going to hear from Medtronic champion, Maddie.
Hi, my name is Maddie Fisher. I was 12 years old when I was diagnosed. It was really, really hard through my adolescent stage. I hated diabetes. Sometimes I would cry and just say, like, why me? And I think, just from hearing from people in the community that a lot of people have that very similar story.
What did you find that helped?
I was able to see all the latest technology that other type 1 diabetics, especially in the Medtronic Champion community, were using. And I stumbled across the NPen. And this girl was using the NPen. I just messaged her, tell me all about this. I called Medtronic. And the lady that I was talking to, she's like, yeah, I totally understand.
It feels like meeting more people helped you.
Yeah, it definitely did. I used to hide everything, and now I wear it with pride.
What have you learned since you've been wearing your technology openly?
There's great support. And then, you have Medtronic who just elevates that support.
Prolonged hyperglycemia can lead to serious health problems and long-term complications. Learn more about hyperglycemia at medtronicdiabetes.com/hyper. If you take insulin or sulfonylureas, you are at risk for your blood sugar going too low. You need a safety net when it matters most. Be ready with Gvoke HypoPen. My daughter carries Gvoke HypoPen everywhere she goes because it's a ready-to-use rescue pen for treating very low blood sugar in people with diabetes ages 2 and above that I trust. Low blood sugar emergencies can happen unexpectedly, and they demand quick action. Luckily, Gvoke HypoPen can be administered in 2 simple steps, even by yourself in certain situations. Show those around you where you store Gvoke HypoPen and how to use it. They need to know how to use Gvoke HypoPen before an emergency situation happens. Learn more about why Gvoke HypoPen is in Arden's Diabetes Toolkit at gvokeglucagon.com/juicebox. Gvoke shouldn't be used if you have a tumor in the gland on the top of your kidneys called a pheochromocytoma, or if you have a tumor in your pancreas called an insulinoma. Visit gvokeglucagon.com/risk for safety information.
Yeah, he tested her sugars. He did a ketone test, I believe. And then he said to me, I think you might need to go to the hospital because I'd like to have her blood tested and see what's going on. Mm-hmm. And then he said, I'm suspecting possibly type 1.
Wow.
And that was the end of that.
Oh, well done for him.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. What I'm going to ask you, because of the list you sent, seems very specific, like you really have something you want to talk about. So let me start with, why did you want to come on the podcast?
I just feel there's a lot of information out there for Australians that you've got a lot of Australian listeners.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of information that we've got here in Australia that can also be brought to the attention of those people. So we've got a lot of support groups in Australia. We're also missing a lot of the technology in Australia. A lot of the technology that you have over there, we haven't seen here at all yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lot of differences between the Australian medical system and the American.
What do you have that you think people don't know about?
The support network in Australia. We have a foundation called the Type 1 Foundation, which is just a support foundation for families. They send out these new awesome packs for the Type 1 diabetic once they've just been diagnosed. Say that they're not in this alone, and the parents making them feel like they're not in this alone.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of other Facebook pages, that are out there that we don't sort of get told about. You have to go searching for it.
How did you go about finding them?
Just typed it into a search bar, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
When you're sitting in the hospital for 5 days and you Google, which you shouldn't Google, and then you find all this really horrible stuff and you don't know where you're going. You don't know what's happening. That first 5 days that we were in there, I just remember feeling absolutely lost, overwhelmed, and alone.
Yeah.
I think was the big thing. I didn't know anybody else that had type 1. I've never even really heard of it before. And then slowly but surely I started finding these groups, and now the Type 1 Foundation make packs that go to the hospitals that give you a little bit of information on just to connect.
I see.
With them, and it gives you a sense of community. Start chatting with people that other families that are going through what you're going through.
Yeah, see, I think it's interesting because you said there's this information out there that people can't get a hold of. And then I was like, well, how'd you find it? You're like, I Googled it. And so I thought, well, I bet you people could get a hold of it. And so I think the real thing for you is you're saying there's this great help out there, and it really helped me. So that's what So that's what I wanted to ask you about. So how did you feel helped by it? What did it do for you?
Oh, it just connected me. It really connected me to other families, people that were going through and could understand what it meant to be up all night, what it meant to have to inject your child with this drug that too much or too little of could cause dramas that nobody else seems to understand. Everybody seems to go, oh, but you've got a handle on it, haven't you? These communities that are out there where you ask silly questions like how many carbs are in this, or what happens when we go and play basketball? What do you feel helps you? Or just a sense of connectedness. And I think your Facebook group does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
People can get on there and chat and converse and see that they're not alone. It's a really big thing for me.
Value. I love what you said about feeling supported by finding information and by finding people too. Why was that so important? Where were you at when you looked? Because let me tell you why I ask. My mind doesn't work that way. Like when I needed support, I created some for myself. And I also, being fair, it was 2007 and the internet wasn't quite what it is today, obviously. So the idea that you could go to a thing and type in anything and get a lot of information back. I mean, the internet was still pretty new to us in 2007. No kidding. So I was like, I'll create my own support. I started doing it through email for people. And then I found a program called iWeb. Like it came pre-installed on my computer. And I read it and it said that I could put my thoughts on the internet. And I was like, ooh, and I made a blog like that. That's how that happened in the beginning. Like, seriously, I didn't know anything about anything. But my point is that it's my inclination to create the support. But that's not how most people think about it. Most people think about, like, how do I find it? And so what do you feel like? Let's see what my question is here. I know what it did for you. Why did you, but why did you need it? Like, what was the driving force behind it?
I think because even I didn't understand what was going on. And we're in a small town with it not being around. And I was incredibly scared. I was scared for my daughter. I was scared for me. I was scared for our relationship. I was scared for my other children.
Kristie, can we say that you were frightened?
Sorry. It's that, I was frightened by what was going to be my life, what it was going to look like, what it was going to look like for my daughter. So
I was... The unknown. The unknown had you...
Absolutely, the unknown.
Yeah.
And you're thrown, all this information comes at you on how to keep her alive and how to do this and how to do that and how to bolus, and all these words come into your vocabulary and you're bombarded with information. But once I got the information and once I sorted through it, once I filed through it,
made my way through it.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Considered it, absorbed it, and absorbed has an S in it. I shouldn't have done that. Sorry.
That's all right. I'm not going to say it.
Once you got through it.
Yeah. I found at the other end of all of that, I was sitting alone with my thoughts, and I didn't know what it looked like for my daughter. So I reached out to a young girl as she was a young adult, and she started talking to me about type 1, about her condition. And she was a vibrant, busy, working, healthy young woman who then put me in touch with the Type 1 Foundation. And I met all these other vibrant, beautiful, successful families dealing with type 1 diabetes.
Yeah. So then
everyday life.
You see people who are at the moment, I would imagine, confounding your expectations of what this means.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That makes a lot of
sense.
sense.
You don't see that. You just told this diagnosis. You just told your child has type 1. You've got to inject insulin. You've got to count carbs. You have to keep them alive. And I wasn't sure what keeping her alive looked like as an adult. I didn't know if she could still do things everybody else could do.
Okay.
As an adult, I think I was just scared. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what type 1 diabetes meant as an adult or future.
Do you recall what any of your unfounded concerns were in the beginning? Like, what popped into your head that was going to happen to her?
I think just managing it. I thought it was going to restrict her with everything she ever did for the rest of her life. I thought it was going to make her sick. I don't know why. I just thought she had a chronic illness and she was going to be sick for the rest of her life and unwell. She was going to be unwell for the rest of her life.
Sickly, always not feeling well, always under the weather, like somebody turned her down a little bit.
Everything was dangerous. Everything was dangerous for her. To exercise was going to be dangerous for her. To eat was going to be dangerous for her. To live her life, to work, to drive a car, to have a child, have a baby, for her to meet somebody. I thought everything was just going to be dangerous for her for the rest of her life.
How long did you feel that way before you got better information? Till you met that girl?
It was a long time. It still happens. It still doesn't go away. It was probably a couple of months after I sent her back to school. And we started to get back into basketball, and we went down to the beach one day because all she wanted to do was be a normal kid. And I think the first time I actually laughed about diabetes was we're at the beach. My husband has taken her to that water's edge. She's in the water. He's watching diligently. I've gone and sat down near the flags in Australia. You've always got to sit between the flags.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very popular beach. She come running out of the water and said, "Mum, I need your Coke. I need to get high." And I've just instantly grabbed the Coca-Cola and threw it into her and said, "Have some of this," while she's swimming. And then it wasn't until she reached the water again, I sat and I realized what she just yelled out and screamed as she was running up the beach. "Mum, I need Coke. I need to get high." And I didn't realize until that very moment exactly that was the first time that I laughed about diabetes because I thought it sounded so funny to somebody else. Not to me. It was Coca-Cola I was giving her. I just threw in some Coca-Cola so that her sugar level would come up as she was swimming. But in that point in time, I had no idea how it was perceived to anybody else.
Listen, Kristie, it's a lot easier to kill a great white shark with your hands if you're yacked up on some blow. You know what I mean? Like you could really kind of get in there and, and fight.
I had no idea. I had no idea what it looked like. But that was the first time I think I actually laughed about diabetes. Because before then there was no laughing. There was just crying and tears, and I was alone. And then that was the same weekend I met the young lady who stopped to talk to us about her devices because we were still on pens.
Okay.
We didn't know even what technology was really out there. So we were just doing pens. I was just injecting my daughter. I was giving her needles every day.
Was that part of it frustrating and upsetting as well?
Absolutely. It was sad because she had a needle phobia, mainly because when we were in the hospital, she was just screaming because she was getting her blood tested. Yeah. But the second day, she said, "I want to inject myself. I want to do this by myself." And she started doing it by herself. But in the middle of the night, the finger pricks, the having to leave whatever she was doing and stopping whatever she was doing to have a needle really started upsetting her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's really tough. It's really tough. And you feel like, what am I doing? And that's when you feel alone. That's when I felt really alone. I just felt like we were the only person on the planet dealing with this.
Yeah.
Until I found a community of people.
JDRF Australia says there's 130,000 Australians with type 1. That is a small number.
It sounds huge.
Well, compared to how many people are trapped on Australia? Hold on. I'm actually typing live in Australia. Don't worry. I'm just saying that because of your internet. Well, listen, 26 million people as of 2022. So that really is that's my point, right? Like, hold on a second.
That's huge.
Hold on. 130,000 is what percent of 26 million? It's 0.5%. It's based on my point is you're not going to meet a ton of people with type 1 diabetes in Australia, I don't think.
No, but it's kind of like when you buy a new car and say it's a purple car and you think you've got a purple car and all of a sudden you start seeing purple cars everywhere. Once we had type 1, I think I said I live in a really small town, and just even recently, I've met 5 other people in our small town that have got type 1 diabetes. There just seems to be, more and more people you talk to. "Oh, my dad's got it," or my niece has got it, my granddaughter's got it. It seems so much more prevalent now that you're in the environment of type 1 diabetes.
So if people spoke about it a little more and were maybe more open about it, you think you might see more people too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And not that you need to, by the way, but like it just, if it was a thing people were talking about all the time, maybe you would find more people. It's interesting.
Yeah. And that's where these groups and these your Facebook groups and even the Facebook group, the Juicebox podcast comes into it, you can ask these questions or you just read. You don't even have to ask. You don't have to participate. You can just flick through the comments and see something that might sound similar to what you're going through, or exactly spot on. And you realise that you're not alone in this journey. And that I always read somewhere, people always say, "Hey, you know what? You've so sorry that you've joined the club, but it's one of the best clubs to be in because everybody's so supportive." And in Australia, they really are. They really are. It's amazing the amount of people I've met now that I call my friends.
Interesting. It's fantastic. I know people I'll never meet, I think. Although I have to say I've been having this conversation with a person. I shouldn't say this on here yet because it really might not work out. But I guess if it doesn't work out, I'll say that again too. But I think we're going to do a cruise for listeners of the podcast.
That'd be so cool.
I actually think that's going to happen. And we'll get to meet people, which will be fantastic, and help them all meet others to get what you're talking about. You know what I mean? So
well, the Type 1 Foundation, well, in a couple of weeks, we're actually going to Dreamworld for the day. So they hire a function room at Dreamworld. Then they gather the Tandem, Omnipod, Medtronic, Dexcom, Libre. It's all set up. So all these different reps are all set up in the room as well. All these children all come together. All these families all come together. We communicate, we chat, we talk, we introduce ourselves. It's a massive community and a massive help to everybody to just meet these people. And you meet babies with type 1 diabetes. You meet this mum, she's got type 1 diabetes and her children don't, or you get to just chat and meet people, and it's incredible. We've started, Emily and I actually volunteer a lot of our time. So we go down early, we help set up, we're on the meet and greet tables, we are part of the merchandise stand. Emily decides she wants to meet all the other little kids and introduce herself to the other little kids and be like a big sister. Hey, look at my pod, or look at my Dexcom.
That's excellent.
Which is really cool.
No, it's amazing. Yeah. Good for you. Hey, you were talking in your note about lack of technology updates. I think you mean in Australia. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. We don't even have the G7 at the moment. So New Zealand's got G7 and Europe's got G7. Australia is still behind with the G7. We don't have the mobile app for Tandem. So Emily's running a Tandem Dexcom setup. There's no mobile app for that. We don't have Omnipod 5. We've only got Omnipod DASH. And we've got Medtronic 780, I believe.
Wait, what is going on? You have, I think, 3 or 4 times more people living there than in New Zealand. How does that happen?
I have no idea. Our Therapeutic Goods Administration, I think it's called, the TGA, they're just slow in approving it, in improving the Dexcom G7.
There are 26,000 people in New Zealand with type 1 diabetes. What the hell?
Yeah.
You guys are getting shook down by bad government or something. Something's going on here.
Yeah. It just takes forever. Everything takes forever in Australia to get approved through the TGA. So we see all this amazing technology on your website and listen to it in your podcasts and go, oh, isn't that awesome? This is great. We just don't see it yet. And every time you sort of hit up Omnipod, hey, when's Omnipod 5 coming out? They're like, oh, we don't know yet. It's still got to go through the TGA. When is Tandem going to get their remote bolusing, their mobile app? Oh, we don't know yet. Mm-hmm. Nobody's got an answer. We only know that the G7 is possibly by the end of the year.
Yeah.
That's all we've been told.
You know, it's funny. They really don't know either. Like, it's not like they're like, just tell them we don't know. Like, I really think the process is, I hate to say it like this, I think the process is just what it is. And it's not written down anywhere, timelines, that kind of thing. And then, you know, people can give you any any excuse they want to give you with the time for why it's taking so long, right? Like for a while, they love to say, oh, it's COVID. COVID's got us slow, and then that ended and then they say something different. Great. Yeah. It's COVID's fault. You can't have a CGM.
Yeah. But Australia, we don't pay for the Dexcom. So it's free for all type 1 diabetics.
Okay. Oh, well.
So we don't have to pay for a CGM. It's all covered through our Medicare.
Is that part of the reason you think?
I wouldn't think so. I don't know. I can't comment on that because I don't really know whether or not that's part of the reason. But, in comparison, I guess we're lucky that it is funded. It's only just recently been funded for all type 1 diabetics.
Mm-hmm.
So at least we've got, free CGMs. Our pumps are through private health insurance, so you have to have a private health insurance to apply for a pump, except for Omnipod. Omnipod is the standalone. Omnipod you can get just as a subscription.
Okay. So Omnipod doesn't cost, or it does?
It does. Yes, it does. But
But you can get it directly.
Locked into any contract. You just get it directly from Omnipod. You do not need private health.
I see.
To get Omnipod. And it costs about $200 to $400 a month.
Those like American dollars?
Australian dollars.
How do they?
So I think we're tripling it, or double, I think, for American at the moment.
Okay, so if you said 200 for you, it's 400 for me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, everything costs so much money. I can't believe I feel old, Kristie, saying this. But the prices of things have really gone up recently. So, I'm not stunned anymore. Like, no. $20 now feels like $5 to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I used to think of $20 as I still think of it as a lot of money, but I still treat my kids like that. I'm like, it's 20, and they're like 20.
Yeah. They quite often ask me, can I just have $20, Mum? I'm just going to go to the shops. I'm like, no, that's too much. You haven't earned $20.
What are you going to do with all that? They're like, I'm going to get a bottle of water, I think, and a lollipop. Like, oh, wait a minute. I didn't realize. Yeah. Upsetting. Yeah. Well, I mean, we're not going to speed that up, obviously. That seems like a problem between you guys and the government. And
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's just something that we are lacking, that's for sure, over here, especially when we're listening to your podcast and you kind of go, oh, you're talking about all these amazing technologies, and I'm like, right, I want that. What are we doing with that? Where is that? Where is this? And we're just still waiting. Just continue to wait.
I appreciate you talking about it nicely with me instead of the note I got the other day from somebody that said I have to check my privilege because I have something they don't have. And I was like, oh my God, I thought this part was over, but okay. I'm like, I feel grateful for things I have. I've said that before. Do you want me to say it before every sentence I speak? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm talking about.
I feel incredibly grateful because our insulin doesn't cost half as much as what you guys are paying for insulin if you don't have healthcare. There is things that I have read on there and go, wow, like people really struggle over there, whereas we don't necessarily have to struggle and fight for insulin. We don't have to struggle and fight for CGM. We're very fortunate in that way.
I also think that people make a mistake when they talk about insurance in America sometimes, like the people who have it. They'll say, like I've said it before, like, what does insulin cost me? I think it costs me $20 every time we order it. And that doesn't matter how many Arden's, like it doesn't matter. Like if Arden's script called for 5 vials of insulin, it would cost me $20. If it called for 10 vials of insulin, it would cost me $20. Like that's kind of the thing. The part you don't stop and talk about is that, round numbers through my wife's employment, I think we pay $9,000 a year to insure my family. And then after that, the first $3,000 that gets spent for every individual person comes out of our pocket. And then it covers 80% after that. So and then if everybody gets sick, 3, 6, 9, 12, 12, say 21. Yeah. So I paid $21,000 plus $20 for the insulin this year. And, and people are like, oh, like it's free for you. I'm like, okay.
No, let's just add it up for a second. And it's the same here. To get onto a pump, we've got a lot of programs through JDRF, I think they do Medtronic pumps, but it's all income-based.
Mm-hmm.
We do have one private health insurance company, which is what we use, and they just insure my daughter. So I'm not insured. I don't have health insurance. My husband doesn't have health insurance. We use just our Medicare system here in Australia.
Okay.
And we're fortunate enough that that particular insurance we've got for our daughter covers her for the pump.
I see.
So she's eligible for a pump.
Well, that's the other thing. When the year starts over, you know, we have these deductibles, these yearly deductibles. So the calendar rolls over to the next year, and then the first order you get of something, you're paying cash for. Like, so, and I'm not kidding. Like, you know, if a 3-year supply of pumps or a 3-month supply of pumps is the first thing that rolls up, you get a bill for like $1,800. And you're like, okay. And then, you know, like you pay that and you think, all right, I did that. And then Dexcom comes up and you still have $1,200 left on your copay, your deductibles stuff. Like, what? I don't even know what the hell it's called. It's not important. They send a bill and I got to pay it. And then the next thing you know, you're not out of January yet and you're out $3,000 in cash. And you're like, and then the rest of the year you're covered. And you're like, okay. So that I always joke with people, like people are always like, you go to the pharmacy or something like, oh my God, that's so much money. Do you want to buy it? I always go, no, I don't want to buy it, but yes, I'm going to buy it. And, you know, and they're like, and I was like, but don't worry, I used up my whole deductible today. I always say that's the great thing about type 1 diabetes. You get that out of pocket out of the way very quickly. So at least it doesn't nag you all year long.
We've got this other awesome thing at the moment in Australia. It's called Strip Supply. Now all I do is punch it in the computer and they send me exactly what I need. I don't even have to go in and really work it out. It's a monthly subscription. They just send me everything I need and I get it. And because who has time to go to the pharmacy and work all that out?
I got to be honest. I used US Med now for a while. And so I really do like, I don't know about punching it into the computer, but I get a text. I get a text and if I don't reply, how do I have it set up? I get an email. If I don't reply to the email, they'll call the house. And it's great because you just literally can't ignore it. And, you know, like you're like, oh, even sometimes I've heard the phone call and thought, you know, my phone announces, I don't know if people still have home phones or not. I do. I'm old. And it's like, you know, call from US Med. And I'm like, I got to go answer that email. And you go to the email and you click on it. And I swear to you, like 3 clicks later, the stuff's at your front door. And I'm like, this is how it ought to be. This is good stuff.
When I was first trying to organize what I wanted, and we've got a certain supply that you're allowed to have, and you never know sort of how much you've used, how many Dexcoms do I have left, how many reservoirs have I got left, how many, all the different things. And now with this, I just order it and it just comes to me each month, and it comes a month in advance. So I'm never behind. I'm right on top of all my supplies. I've got enough. I don't have to worry about, oh shit, we've left it to the last minute. We need to go and get, you know, a Dexcom. Or we need to go and get some insulin, or we need to go and get the cartridges because I don't have any, or it always just comes down.
You're never really paying attention.
Much more organized.
Yeah, you're never really paying attention until you're like, I have 2 of these left. Damn, hold on a second. Although a different kind of counting happened yesterday. Arden's finishing up her sophomore year of college right now. Like it's today. She told me today is the last day she's going to do any work, and then she has a presentation, and then she's done. And I was like, okay. And she goes,
podcast when she first went.
Oh, isn't that crazy? How time? Trust me, there are people listening who are like, I read the blog when that kid was like 7. You know, she said to me, 1 more pod, and I went, what are you talking about? Are you out of pods? And she goes, no. I have plenty of pods. I went, okay. She goes, 1 more pod that I'm going to do. And then you're taking care of this all summer. Like,
my daughter quite often sits there and says, Mum, can you just enter it in, please? I don't want to think about it. And I went, yeah, okay. Just pass it over and I'll enter it in. But because with the tandem, because she's still on, like it's all tubing, she just sits next to me and she just doesn't even look. She's like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that in. Okay. Now, compared to 2 years ago, now we're much more relaxed. We're much more calm.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot more now, except for me going to the doctor.
I did get the firm feeling, though, that my summer is going to be spent changing CGMs and insulin pumps. She's like, I'm taking a break from everything, is the vibe I got from her. I was like, okay.
Yeah, holiday mode for sure, from everything.
Oh, I'm going to get the phone handed to me across the table when food comes out, something like that. Like, oh, are we eating? Here you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just turns it right back on me.
It's lovely that we can still do that for them. I mean, they've got this for the rest of their life, so.
Yeah, honestly, I'm happy to.
You can take a little bit away from them.
Right. No, I agree with you. And I'm happy to do it. And it also won't last that long, by the way. She's not, I mean, it won't be a month from now and she's still like, uh-oh, my pump needs to be changed. Like, it's not going to go like that, you know? So my job this summer is just she's a couple little bad diabetes habits that I'm trying to like get her away from. I want her to put a new CGM on a little before she takes the old G7 off. Like just to soak it a little bit.
Soaking?
Yeah.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah, I can't get her to do that.
Yeah, I always forget to do that.
And in college, she rides her pump out to the last second or the last unit. And I'm always like, Arden, please, like, let's not, like, you know, she's like, it's fine. But she's had a couple of times where she's gone to bed and said it's fine, and then it didn't make it.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had that too.
And then I'm waking her up and I'm like, you have to get up right now and put a new pump on. And she's like exhausted. Now, I want to say in fairness to her, somehow Arden ended up going to college for something that I kind of thought was going to be like not as taxing. And it ended up being worse somehow. Like she's got a friend becoming a nurse at college. She has a friend becoming a teacher at college. She has a friend in college learning comp sci. And Arden's doing, you know, fashion design.
Yeah.
And her friends are like, you're way busier than we are. Like because when she gets an assignment, the assignment isn't like, hey, sit in this class, I'll explain this code to you, then you can go home and code a little bit or what you're in, or go read terms for nursing or something like that. Like they get her into a room and they go, hey, you're going to make a pattern for this dress. And they literally hang a dress in front of her. And then you have to visually deconstruct the dress. You can't take it apart. You have to make a pattern for it and then make and remake the dress. Except no one teaches you how to do it. You just have to do it. It's really interesting. Like Arden went to school for fashion design. She'd never really sewn very much even.
Okay.
And so like she goes to these labs, like we'll get like a call from her. Like the other night, she said it was like 5:00. She calls and she FaceTimes. I don't know if people call anybody anymore. So she's FaceTiming with us. And she's eating. And we're like, what are you up to? She goes, I'm gonna finish eating, then I'm gonna go pick up Addison. It was a friend of hers. And she's like, and then we got to go to number 9, and then we're going to make a pair of pants. And I'm like, okay. And then, you know, at 2:00 in the morning last night, like literally, I saw her blood sugar was super stable. It'd been very stable for a long time. And I woke up and I was like, I wonder where Arden is. And I opened my phone and she's still in that lab. Like at 2 in the morning, they're doing this stuff. And so she's done all these overnights with diabetes. I have to tell you, she may never know it. And Arden uses IAPS right now, but it wouldn't matter if it was Control IQ or Omnipod 5 or 780G, whatever she's wearing. These algorithms, they're changing people's lives. I don't even think they know it.
Absolutely.
You know, like you go find a bunch of collegiate type 1s pulling all-nighters and riding around a 6.1 A1C right now and ask them if they weren't low all the time, or, you know what I mean? Like, and Arden's just like not having those problems because of this stuff. Really great.
We had Omnipod DASH. So Emily decided she didn't want tubes and she wanted to try the Omnipod DASH. And we tried that and it was great. The remote bolusing was great. The no tubes were great. Being a girl, she could wear whatever she wanted to wear, and it was really wonderful.
Yeah.
And then hormones kicked in. So every night when the hormones would kick in, we were up bolusing and correcting and bolusing and correcting constantly. And then she would drop at other certain times of the month. She would drop. And because it wasn't catching it, we felt there was a lot of work. We were up late at night. It wasn't until 2:00 when it all was stable, and we would put a heap of insulin in and just wait for the low. But with Tandem, with the T-Slim that she's got, it does those corrections, and you can quite often go, right, I can go to bed now. It's going to catch it. I'm not putting in too much insulin where she's going to crash incredibly fast. I can just make little corrections, and sometimes I don't even have to do that now. The pump just kind of does it itself, and she's sitting at an A1C of 5.8 was her last one.
That's fantastic. And if Omnipod 5 was available in Australia, you probably would have gotten it.
Absolutely.
That's been my point to a couple of the companies when I've talked to them recently. Like, they have to begin to understand that the algorithm is going to become the most important part of their device. I can make the argument about Omnipod. The tubeless nature of it is really significant to people and might push some people, to not say that algorithms like top on their list, but that's what you're selling now.
Yeah, well, that's what we went for.
Yeah.
It's the algorithm in that T-Slim, and even Emily started to fight. She goes, Mum, I'm going low, it's already cut the insulin out, so I don't have to worry about it too much. Or if she's going high, the diabetes educators just said, well, we'll do the corrections. We'll just change your correction factor a little bit. And that has made an incredible difference to her being able to manage it in school, to the point where sometimes she's not even really thinking of it because the algorithm is doing it for her.
Yeah.
Whereas Omnipod just wasn't keeping up.
Well, you're using the dash. It's just manual. It's just the dash. It's just running the basal program that you put in there. It's not making corrections. It's not cutting basal. I mean, listen, the algorithms, they don't catch every low, and they don't catch every bad low. I don't want to say that because they certainly don't. But 9 times out of 10, the low you're having is not nearly as emergent and scary, because the algorithm has been taking away insulin the whole time.
Yeah. At least she can sit down, she can have her bit of sugar, and she's pumped back up with enough without having a crashing low. It lets her know beforehand, the Dexcom does. So she just finds it's less management with the algorithm than it is with Omnipod. But she loved Omnipod. She loved the freedom of Omnipod. So we still get Omnipod every now and then. She wants to wear a pretty dress, or she wants to do something where she didn't want the tube. She will put on an Omnipod for the time being, but she actually asked to go back to the T-Slim for the algorithm.
Oh, the algorithm.
And even for me, like at nighttime when we were on Omnipod, I go to work and they go, oh, you look really tired. And I'm like, no, this is just my face. This is how we look now. We're just tired now. Like, I had a good night's sleep. I was fine, but this is just what I look like. Like,
no, I'm doing great.
I look tired.
What are you talking about? It's the best I felt in a week.
Yeah. I feel great. What are you talking about? You look tired. So, yeah, it's just the way you look now. The bags are just permanently under the eyes. It's just the way you look now.
It's funny. I say again for pump companies listening, you're not selling the 770G, you're not selling the Omnipod, you're not selling the T. You're selling your algorithm. That's your product.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So concentrate on it. I had this thought the other day, and this is going to be frustrating to you because you get things later. You think of yourself as the Canada of the other side of the map. And so because they don't get their stuff very timely either. But
no, they're about as us.
It's pretty much neck and neck, honestly. But what I was thinking the other day as what was I doing? I think I was outside pressure washing my house. It's like, that mold, well, you live there. I don't know what you know, but like Over the winter, we get like green stuff stuck to our siding, and you kind of like go out and pressure wash it off, right? So I'm out there getting soaked, having green stuff bounce back in my face, assuming I'm going to turn into Spider-Man eventually from whatever's going in my mouth. And I'm thinking about my podcast and things I talk about and everything. And I started thinking about AI a lot. And I wondered, are we going to see a slowdown in the current algorithms advancements, because are they already ahead doing something else that we don't know they're working on? And if they're not, should they be? You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
yeah. Like, when am I going to be able to tell the pump when I'm eating, for example? Like, when am I going to be able to say, hey, pump, this is a cheeseburger.
It's just going to be a communication.
Yeah. Like, is that going to happen? Like, you know, and wouldn't that be for some people more accurate than them half-ass guessing how many carbs are in something, or forgetting that it's greasy, or like that kind of thing? Like I wonder if that's not something somebody's thinking about. And I think they should be.
It kind of reminds me of Siri, I suppose. Hey, Siri, how many carbs are in this? That's constantly our question. Hey, Siri, how many carbs are in this? And she might tell us, and then we sort of go, well, we're going to have a bit more than that. Actually, she's talking to me now.
Do you think that Siri has friends, and in her downtime, she's like, yo, this Kristen and her family, they eat, like, seem like it's all they do. That's all they talk about with me. It's just food. She's never...
Now, you know, Facebook, how it listens to you, it just comes up with recipes and things like that, because it's all listening to me, I suppose.
These fuckers only talk about food ever.
Yeah, that's all. I'm never asking for directions. It's just food. How much food? What do I need here? What do I need there?
She's never once asked me about anything fun or going on vacation or anything like that.
No, I just want to know the food. Just let me know the food. I actually have got on my fridge, I did up all Emily's favorite foods, how many carbs are in the foods. So it's on the fridge and I don't have to ask her anymore.
Hey, I need to sneak in my I have standard Australian questions. Have you ever sat on a toilet and there's been a spider or a snake in it?
No, frogs though.
Frogs. Okay, fair enough.
Green tree frogs. Not a snake, not a spider, but spiders are everywhere. We name them in our house. No, but frogs. Green tree frogs.
Green tree frogs.
Are common, yes.
In the toilet, common. Do you ever get to the point where you're just like, I'm not taking this out, or I'm just flushing it down the toilet?
Taking what?
Do you take it out, or what do you do with it once you see it?
The frog.
Yeah, the frog.
Well, you just got to flush. I mean, if you've already sat on it, I'm not going to reach in there and go and get anything out. You can flush it, or I've got two toilets. I can just go to the other one.
But
sometimes in the outback, I've been camping and the whole shed has been full of frogs. Therefore, I just don't even use that particular toilet.
Okay.
In Australia, we find a tree. It's safer to find a tree.
If I found a tree, I'd be able to get farther away from these frogs than if I went to the toilet. I gotcha.
I think they're more frightening, the frogs in the toilet, if I'm honest. I'd rather sit on a spider.
I don't know how to even make that adjustment in my mind, but okay. And snakes everywhere. Crawling across the street, I walk outside, they're on my patio. They're like birds in America, yes or no? No. Where are they at?
No, so they're out in the bush. They're hiding underneath your rocks and things like that. You do have to be careful. You can be walking through a paddock and all of a sudden there's a nice brown snake there. I have not encountered one. I've only ever encountered a few black snakes, which are pretty quiet, and they tend to move away from you before you are anywhere near them.
The brown one can hurt you?
The brown one's nasty. He's mean. Yeah. Yeah, he's more aggressive. The black one's not so much.
Just aggressive or poison?
Both. Both are very poisonous.
Even the black.
We've got everything. I'm more afraid of a crocodile in Australia than I am of a snake or a spider or anything like that. Those bastards jump up out of the water and get you.
Here's my question. In the last 5 years, how many stories have you heard about people being drug under by a crocodile and taken? Over, under 10?
Under 10.
Under 10.
Sometimes it's the little dog, like people are walking their dogs, so the dog gets taken.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like the thought of the crocodile. Like, he's in the land, he's in the sea, and he's just got his little beady eyes looking at you from the top of the water. And I don't know if anybody's ever been to Australia Zoo or you watch Steve Irwin's videos. They launch up out of the water. I've seen them launch.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just not even going to go near water's edge in North Queensland.
Gotcha. Yeah. Oh, listen, they're dinosaurs. There are dinosaurs living with you.
They are.
Yeah. No.
Yes.
It's very upsetting. I don't.
And they're huge.
Mm-hmm. Oh, what, 10, 12 feet?
Huge. I don't know if they're
feet.
Big.
Oh,
They're
God.
huge.
You live in one of those places. Hold on a second. Let me just figure it out. How many meters is 12 feet? Let's see if I was anywhere close to being correct. 3.5 meters?
Yeah, they can be bigger than that.
Bigger than that. Okay. Yeah. Well, and why don't you leave? Tell me that. Like, pack up those. I mean, you got enough kids. They could pull the car if you don't have one. There's so many of them.
I live in the bush. We live in a small country town in Queensland. We are further away from the crocodiles, but recently we went on a holiday up to North Queensland, which is 11 hours drive from where we live up to North Queensland. And my husband and my daughter were walking along the beach, and I just waited back. I went, no, thank you.
Yeah, I'll be here for whichever one of you lives, and then we'll go home together. Yeah.
Yeah, we even got in a boat, did the crocodile tour, and I was freaking out sitting in the middle, and Emily's like, this is great. And then all of a sudden, like, her pump starts alarming, and I'm like, just be quiet.
They can hear that. I will throw you in the water.
Yeah, just please be quiet, because I don't want it to come anywhere near us.
Do you think which parent do you think you'd be? Have you seen the video online? I'm going to make my point. Have you seen the video online where the guy's walking out of his home? He's got like one of those doorbell cameras, so you're getting to see it. By the way, do people not know that all a doorbell camera is going to do is catch you falling? It's not going to catch anybody breaking into your house. But so the guy's coming out. I mean, it's a guy. He's in his 30s. You know what I mean? Prime of his life. He's holding his son. The kid's 3, maybe 3. I'm going to guess. He takes a step down, his first step, and a raccoon just grabs his pant leg and starts going crazy. Now, listen, that would scare me. I'm not going to say otherwise. He takes a couple of aggressive steps forward, and then he throws the kid on the ground. I mean, he really throws the kid. I think the kid's okay, so it's okay to laugh about. He was like, just dispensed of that child. When his life was in danger, he did not think about that kid anymore. He was just like,
he's self-preserving.
Oh my God. He was like, this thing's in my way.
I'm not taking it. Take them first. Take them first. Save myself.
Then he calls for his wife like I don't want to say like a little boy, but he called for his wife like she was his mom. And then the raccoon takes off. Whatever. But it's the way he throws the kid that makes me wonder, like, we all think we're going to be that person who's going to just like
save their child,
step up, blah, blah, blah. But I think if that crocodile came, you'd be like, listen to me, kid.
I would have been I think I would have just turned the boat around if anybody fell in too bad.
I gotta go. Hold on tight. You go out, we're not coming back for you.
He was huge, just sitting there looking at me, and I'm no.
Oh my God. Anyway, if you haven't seen the video of the man and the raccoon throwing his kid, please find it and just enjoy yourself and think, well, the kid's fine. Don't worry about it. But I mean, man, he just tossed that kid aside like a bag of shit. He was just like,
I'm done. He's yours. You take him.
For the rest of your life, you're a woman, Kristie, you're married, for the rest of your life, the guy says anything, you pause and you go, hey, remember the time you threw our kid? Right? I mean, do you ever win another argument if you're that guy? I don't think so. No.
No, you've already given up the child.
You can't act dominant sexually anymore. Like, you can't do anything. Because you'll be thinking like,
the way he was screaming for his wife.
Exactly.
Where's the man?
He's like, you know what I want to try tonight? And you're like, what, bitch boy? What do you want to do tonight? Remember when you threw our kid and cried? Oh my God, fantastic. By the way, we did a disservice to this podcast episode. You guys love to curse, and I didn't curse much in this one at all. I'm sorry for that.
I know. I've actually been holding it in too. I'm too scared to say the S or something like that.
Well, yeah, if you would have went to other words, we could have avoided the S.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I work with children, so I can hold it in when I need to.
It was done very well, because I imagine it's the first word that comes to mind whenever you're starting a sentence.
Yes.
Yeah. Why is that, by the way? I'm not making this up, am I? Like, cursing's like a national pastime.
Yeah, it's very casual. It's very over in Australia. I quite often say to my husband, really? Like, really? Is that what you just said? Like, that's, and you go, yes, well, it is, but, anyway. Yeah, no, it's quite often used. A lot of Aussies tend to use it.
Yeah.
It's very liberal.
I swear to God, I curse.
My son just turned 21 and he feels like he can swear in front of me now.
21.
So,
oh God, you made it far. I curse like, I love cursing. I would fit so well, except for the snakes and the spiders and whatever else you got on. I would never come to Australia. I just want to say this right now. You'd have to put me in an acrylic box with air holes if I'm coming there. But
it's not that scary. It's quite surprising how everybody thinks it's so scary. It's really not. I know we've got great white sharks in the ocean, and we've got crocodiles, and we've got snakes, and we've got spiders, but we survive.
I mean, I know that, but somebody doesn't, and I don't need it being me. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. I want to be clear. I also probably wouldn't go to West Texas, Arizona. I mean, I can make a long list of places I'm not going for you. I got invited to speak in Montana. I'm already looking for snake boots. Like, do they? I don't even know if they have snakes. But like, and a bear. Like, I'm gonna need a bear gun. There's got to be a gun you can kill a bear with, right? Like, I need a bear gun and snake boots.
That would frighten me too. The bears would frighten me after watching that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. The bears would definitely scare me.
Oh, The Revenant.
Yes, that's the one.
I thought you were going to say Cocaine Bear. I was and I was going to say, Kristie, I don't think that was real.
No, not that one. No, definitely The Revenant, when the bear attacks him, because I don't really watch horror movies or anything like that. That bear was horrible.
Yeah, well, the bear doesn't care if you're alive or not when it's eating you.
No.
Yeah.
It just rips you apart with those big claws.
Right. Some animals have the common courtesy to break your neck or something before they, like the crocodile will break your neck.
And the crocodile takes you down to the bottom of the river alive and death rolls you.
Yeah, but that'll break your neck is what I'm saying. The bear was eating him. The bear was eating him for hours. Wasn't it?
No. Crocodiles and bears, you can have those.
Like if you're being eaten by a bear, you got to yell, "Don't start with my foot." I mean, if we're doing this, come up top. Let's
just get it over and done with.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know this would turn into a bear attack podcast, but here we are. Okay, what about diabetes haven't we talked about that we should have?
Oh, the fear that it puts around the rest of your health issues.
So, okay.
I don't even want to go to the doctor these days for myself. I get terrified after having diabetes come thrown out of nowhere at me. I actually have a lot of anxiety going to the doctor.
Personally.
And health concerns. Yes, personally.
You. So now you're pretty sure, or at least incredibly worried, that something's going to go wrong with you.
Absolutely. I'm always thinking that the worst. If I go to the doctor, I'm going to get out of the blue. It's going to be something that's going to be the worst. I'll go for a sinus thing and I'll think I've got, some sort of tumor or something, because I think the diabetes come so far left field. We had no idea what diabetes was. There's no autoimmune. No one in the family has it.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that. And we've taken Emily to the doctor for a urinary tract infection and ended up coming home with type 1 diabetes.
Right.
And it's just terrified me now to go to the doctor thinking that something else is going to be thrown at me from left field. I think that, we have a lot of things thrown at us, and I don't know, they say the universe only gives you what you can handle. I get scared for myself because I need to be around to look after my daughter. So the anxiety of me not being well is really starting to play a major role in my life. I've had to go and see a psychologist just for that.
Do you curse during the psychology visits?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, I would too. That's why I asked. So let me ask a question here. Prior to the type 1 diagnosis, were you generally healthy people? You didn't end up at the doctors very often?
No, not very often. Okay. I started to worry about my health. I was a bit overweight, and so I was worried about my health, and I had high blood pressure, but nothing overly concerning. If you went to the doctor for anything, you just go and get it checked out. Just going to go and get this checked out. Now, I don't necessarily want to go and get something checked out because I think that I'm going to come out with something worse than what I went in with.
Kristie, let me help you a little bit. That's backwards. Okay. You can't think like that. And isn't it interesting? Being overweight and having high blood pressure is serious. And yet it's you think of it as reasonably expected. So when someone says it to you, you go, okay, well, what's the thing I do for that then? But the diabetes was so, like you said, out of left field that now it feels like anything could happen. Now it feels like it could just spring up out of the water at you and snatch you up.
Yeah. When you think of something like, it won't happen to me, I always think the complete opposite now. That could happen to us. That could happen to us because this happened to us. So, that could happen.
You completely transitioned from one mindset to the other very quickly.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it really does worry me now. For any little thing, I get really worked up. Going to the doctors really works me up now.
I find a lot of comfort in this thought. I hope it helps you. Whatever's going to happen is probably going to happen. I've got things everywhere, all over my house that say, things happen for a reason, and it's going to happen. But I don't want it to, and it can't. Listen, I want to be clear. I don't think they happen for a reason, but I think they're going to happen. Like, I think there's just a natural progression of things. And I've had, no lie, I'm 52. If I sit here and try to be thoughtful about this, I had to have a surgery on my toe, because I couldn't walk. My knee had to be cleaned out. My shoulder had to be repaired. I had to have my appendix out. I have a couple of crowns in my mouth. Like, my teeth are, needed to be replaced. I mean, I carried weight that I couldn't figure out. Like, there's no rhyme or reason behind it. I'm working through my gut health issues right now with somebody, which I haven't talked about on the podcast yet because I'm not done with the process. And every time I go to do something, I'm like, oh my God, I'm hurt again, or this is happening. And it feels so like this is not what you were promised, but you realize then nobody really promised you this. And I'm still moving. Like, this is amazing. Like, I lost 6 months fixing up my knee, and I limped for 3 months after I got my toe fixed, and like that kind of stuff. And my shoulder surgery was maybe one of the more painful things I've ever physically been through in my life. Right. But the alternative is what? You know what I mean? Like, if my knee didn't work and my shoulder didn't work, a bear would have eaten me 20 years ago if it was 100 years ago. So I'm just, I'm all about find it, face it, get past it. And if it kills you, whatever. That was going to happen anyway.
I had to really struggle with that, and with seeing somebody has helped with that same mindset. I've just got to deal with it, and we're going to take it one step at a time. Mm-hmm. And if this happens, then we'll do this. And my husband is amazing it's not casual. Casual's not the right word. He is very calm. If things happen, we're just going to roll with it, especially medically.
I don't know your husband. He's clearly got the most boy attitude I've ever heard in my life. He's like, hey, those kids aren't mine. I'll take them. Don't worry about it.
Incredibly practical.
Yeah.
He's just so real about things, I think. He's got a very realistic view on everything.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I've got that emotional view, being female. We just do that, I think. Look into things too much. But, yeah, I can't. He's always supported me. He's like, you need to go to the doctor and get that checked.
Lovely.
So,
yeah, good. Boy, listen.
Yeah, I get there. I just, and it doesn't help when the doctor goes, we just need to see where the bleeding's coming from.
Great.
I go, okay. Yeah. Is there a cancer in your family? And I go, what? What did you just say?
And then where was the bleeding coming from, by the way?
Yeah. So I had the weight loss surgery as well.
Okay.
So yeah, I had that done in 2020. And so there was no bleeding from there, but I was losing iron. I wasn't absorbing iron.
Yeah.
So he said, you must be bleeding from somewhere. Is there cancer? Is there this? And
he couldn't just say, we took out a bit of your stomach and maybe you're just not absorbing iron as well anymore.
Yeah, that's right. It just turned out to just be the surgery. There wasn't anything else. I went for every test under the sun and there wasn't anything else. But it was the whole process and I was terrified.
Yeah, of course. I had that happen to me too, by the way. My iron was low and they're like, you have cancer. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't think I do, but I guess we can check.
Hey,
yeah.
Thanks.
Well, how did the weight loss surgery work for you? Did it do what you hoped for it to do?
Yeah, I lost 60 kilos and I've kept it off now for a long time. I can eat anything. I've been very fortunate. I followed all the instructions given to me by the surgeon and I've managed to keep it all off and I can eat. The rest of my bloods are all great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not absorbing enough iron.
Holy hell, you lost 132 pounds?
Is that what it is?
That's what it is. Yeah.
Like a whole person.
I'll be damned, that's crazy. How tall are you?
Yeah, I can get up off the floor easier now.
What are you doing on the floor?
Oh, I work with children.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, constantly, like down their level.
Wow, that's crazy. Good for you. Now, can I ask you, do you look now at everybody using GLP medications and think, God damn it, I probably could have just done that. If only they were available a couple of years sooner?
Sometimes, but I actually have a needle phobia myself.
Oh, okay.
So if people are injecting Ozempic or something like that, I think I'd rather the weight loss surgery.
No kidding. That's interesting.
I can't. I have very big needle phobia, so I had to get over that pretty quick. Well, for Emily, I can.
Yeah. You're a bit of a pleasant paradox, Kristie. Yeah. Which I would, by the way, call your episode Pleasant Paradox if I wasn't already going to call it Sally Sells Seashells. Yeah, that's what I'm calling it, actually. So I have to have a way to explain this to people. The which is still happening, by the way. I just haven't brought it up yet. I also noticed the less I talk about it, the fewer S's you use.
Oh.
Which, isn't that crazy?
I get so conscious of it now.
Well, now that I realize how that works, I think I'm just going to start, when I'm talking to people, I'm going to say things like, you should send me $5 and see if it starts happening. If like just $5 bills just start showing up, I'm like, oh, I was wasting my time telling them about other stuff. All right, cool. Well, listen, I really appreciate you doing this with me. It's got to be after midnight there. You have to go to sleep and take care of 43 children tomorrow. So yeah. Let me let you go and say thank you. I really do appreciate you taking the time, coming and sticking up for people in Australia, saying don't forget about us when you're making your stuff. Get it over here. It would be nice if they fought a little harder for you at some of these companies, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If we could just be on par with some of the technology, it would be amazing.
Yeah. Just because you have a frog in your toilet doesn't mean you don't deserve good health care.
That's right.
That should
Frogs and snakes and crocodiles.
That should be a t-shirt. You should make a t-shirt that says, just because I have a frog in my toilet doesn't mean I don't want your blah, 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 then send it off to the company. You'd make somebody laugh so hard, they'd put some effort into it for you, probably.
Yeah.
All right, Kristie, thank you so much. Can you hold on 1 second for me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. A huge thank you to one of today's sponsors, Gvoke Glucagon. Find out more about Gvoke HypoPen at gvokeglucagon.com/juicebox. You spell that GVOKEGLUCAGON.com/juicebox. Today's episode was sponsored by Medtronic Diabetes, and earlier you heard from Maddie, who shared with us what finding Medtronic meant for her. Learn more about hyperglycemia at medtronicdiabetes.com/hyper. I can't thank you enough for listening. Please make sure you're subscribed or following in your audio app. I'll be back tomorrow with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. If you or a loved one was just diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and you're looking for some fresh perspective, the Bold Beginnings series from the Juicebox Podcast is a terrific place to start. That series is with myself and Jenny Smith. Jenny is a CDCES, a registered dietitian, and a type 1 for over 35 years. And in the Bold Beginnings series, Jenny and I are going to answer the questions that most people have after a type 1 diabetes diagnosis. The series begins at episode 698 in your podcast player, or you can go to juiceboxpodcast.com and click on Bold Beginnings in the menu. The episode you just heard was professionally edited by Wrong Way Recording, wrongwayrecording.com.